This conference will now be recorded.
I'll call the February 10th, 2022 Pelican Preserve Advisory Committee meeting to order. We have with us Randy Bottleson, Carol Pankow, Joe Schofield, Glenn Sikorsky, and John Grega. Doug Zanter. Is Doug coming in?
He's on. He
Doug,
just
Can
got
you hear
there.
us?
Go
Yes,
ahead.
I'm on. I joined with the wrong link. I was on the January link. I didn't know each month had a different link number in it.
Okay, well, we got you. I guess, so I call the meeting to order. I guess we ought to vote to allow Doug to vote. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Carol, seconded by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You're unanimously accepted, Doug.
Okay.
Doug is coming to us from Disney World, is that right?
Yep, just got back from Hollywood Studios, so yes.
Okay, approve the minutes. Everybody had a chance to read the minutes. I was particularly impressed. The minutes were well done. There was really nothing I could see on them. So unless anybody has any changes, I entertain a motion to accept the minutes as written.
I'll make a motion. Glenn?
I'll second it. Glenn makes a motion. Joe seconds it. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye. Unanimously. Okay. Moving on to, I guess, the O&M agreement.
I was hoping to send this to everybody.
Yeah.
But for some reason I had issues getting the copies here to be sent out. And the reason Scott and I met and looked over this. The question I have is, do we want to change anything here in regards to how this is set up?
John, I looked through it, and at least at this point, I don't see any need to change anything.
Okay.
But maybe others do. It's possible there could be changes in the future, particularly as we get rolling on some of these other things we're doing. I noticed that for some reason, the traffic and direction signage repair and maintenance is in yellow. Is that meaningful?
I have no idea.
Okay.
And also, this is 2 years old. So
Okay, so this is not,
this is the last one that was put together. Scott and I met and basically said everything looked okay, but
Scott, do you have comments on this?
Yes, Scott Charnock, property manager, Pelican Preserve. That just needs to not be highlighted any longer.
Okay.
The other adjustments that we will have to make is if you go down the page to Exhibit C1, future CDD assets, WCI has already conveyed those assets over to the district.
Oh, okay.
that's what I
I
thought.
have a question. Can we hold for just a minute? Laura took my copy to make copies for her. She
Mhm.
needs that. And I don't have anything in front of me to reference.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, okay, so everything under Exhibit C1 now will shift over to looking like the other.
Correct.
GSCDD.
Yes.
Mhm. Okay. And so-
Scott, could you, maybe for my benefit, could you clarify this shared expenses?
Whenever you see shared expenses, whether it's with either entity, PPCA or GSCDD, that means those those expenses are budgeted and shared with the commercial property. The commercial property is all of the properties outside the entrance of Pelican Preserve north to Colonial. All of that commercial property is part of Pelican
I
Preserve.
see.
So they pay not only non-ad valorem taxes, but they also pay fees to the PPCA.
Okay, but then it'll fall within any neighborhood HOA.
No,
I
no,
see. Okay.
no. But that's sort of like the main difference between us and the typical community. We actually have commercial property.
And you'll see them in the budget, Randy.
Okay, but I couldn't I didn't know what it was.
Okay. Yep.
Well, and that was one of the reasons why we were going through this today.
Scott, I have a question. You say that the shared property, the commercial properties up there pay a fee to the PPCA?
Yes, because they have different shared expenses with the PPCA.
Okay, and how does that work with the shared landscaping expenses?
That's completely different. Shared landscaping expenses are with the CDD.
Okay, so that's in their ad valorem taxes.
Correct.
Okay. thank
Yes.
you.
They're always separated out. And if you look at the budgets, you'll see that. You'll see it in the HOA's budget and you'll see it within the PPCA budget. The percentages shared with the HOA are driven by the declarations. Those percentages are set up within the governing documents.
Any other questions of Scott?
Scott,
Go ahead, Jim.
No, say up here. Bob Geppert from Breno. Under Exhibit 2B, Item 2, fountains located in lakes, it should be ponds, but anyway, Lake 17 and 18. It says it is the responsibility of the GSCDD, has never been.
Yep, you are right.
That has always been
Actually, the owner is the PPCA.
Used to be Town Center.
Yeah, used to be Town Center.
So the owner is Town Center, maintenance is Town Center.
Yep.
And funding is Town Center.
Okay, so those should also all say PPCA, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, and for clarification for the group, as well as myself, everything in this document that says PPCA, what that means is that council has been managing that for the community association. Has differentiated then the ponds group, which is spelled out here specifically, GSCDD.
Yep.
And that means that PPCA has been responsible for all of ponds. So I want to make sure that it's not much of a distinction, but it's a significant distinction that you guys all understand the difference. All that means, the only thing that means is that up until 2019 or 2020, the developer paid for everything.
Mhm.
And it was managed on the developer's behalf by Castle. Now that we have become a resident-driven community, we as a PPCA have determined that we are willing to pay Castle to manage those services for us.
Mhm.
Okay, they're still your services. You collect the money. You should be running it unless you want a delegate to do it, which at the current time is Castle. But if you in the future would change that, then that whole column then goes right back to GSCDD because that is your property and that is your responsibility to raise the money for it.
Yep.
And literally it is your responsibility to manage it. And we have chosen up to now to have a third party manage it for us. But as I've said to this group before, if you want to save that money, take it back internally. And that's your option. And that would be the landscape work group and the safety and security group in the future. So just want to make sure you understand what the document is telling us. Thank you.
And I would also point out that under C2, which shows Cypress Grove extension, the lake management, we're,
Yes, that has to be changed also. Anything with WCI,
yes,
doesn't matter what section it is,
right.
whether it's, but you're right, Exhibit C2 and then below other, WCI has to be removed.
Any other questions of Scott on this? We make other moves to change the management in any way or the maintenance responsibility really? We will need to change this exhibit.
Well, I was wondering, Glenn here, why this was brought up to review this.
That I don't know, but I'm glad we did. It helps the new members of the committee, and the review shows that it needs to be updated because it's 2 years old.
Yeah, John,
But all it's doing is changing the ownership, maintenance risk, or not. The CDD is no longer the future owner on some of these areas. They are the owner. So,
This is part of the maintenance agreement.
Yeah.
This
yes,
is a key issue of the maintenance agreement.
yes,
right.
And at this point, when I review it with Tony, and Tony just updated it when the PPCA took over, which was a couple of years ago, and he just wrote a new paragraph which updated the maintenance agreement. But this has to be updated probably within us, and that's Scott
Yes.
and I and the
Yeah.
committee has to do.
exactly.
So John raised this one.
Understood now, I didn't know
There's about 6 or 7 revisions.
Right.
that. Okay.
All right. So
Okay.
Scott, you will revise it, print another one?
Yes,
Very good.
Could I make I guess I'll ask a question, see, kind of a suggestion, but I don't think a lot of us are familiar with this document, period, on this board. And could we have the next month to review it, study it, maybe put questions together and then discuss it again at our next meeting? So if anybody, I mean, some of these people are seeing it for the first time. I saw this for the first time about 2 weeks ago, something similar to this. And trying to understand it, I think maybe we should have some time to look at it and understand it. And that, maybe nobody else feels that way.
Well,
I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, and now you're talking not just the exhibits, but the O and M,
Well,
the agreement
The O
itself.
and M agreement itself.
Itself,
I think it would be very good if we all had a chance to
Okay.
look at it, maybe formulate questions and then get a better understanding of what we're working with.
So
Because that is an overriding document for this
Yeah.
community, as I understand it.
Scott, could you send copies of the agreement itself? or-
yes, along with the amendment that was made in October 2020.
Right.
So I'll send that out to the committee. Yes,
Okay.
And then please copy Georgia.
yes.
Let me have it.
But
And can we please keep this on file?
Yeah,
Here
if Georgia
with our
has it,
meeting.
it'll be in the file.
Okay.
And
It's
we
just when
have-
I make modifications, they want it on file.
Well, the whole thing has to stay in the file because I was the only one that had this updated one that I know.
We have the
of.
O and M agreements. We have the same one you did.
So this was up to, this was up,
I have never seen this particular with the ABC before, but the actual O and M agreement we have.
I know. but
Yeah.
Yeah, please keep this. as
I've
part of
never
it.
seen this before.
Okay.
I had it, John.
All right.
But and to Joe's point, though, we look at this every year to come up with the O and M budgetary amounts. So we consider those expenditures. So you can look at it, but the way I see it, we get those numbers every month, and working with Scott, we adjust accordingly. So, and working with Gateway. So Joe, I don't know if you want to study it more, if I've heard about landscaping, making a committee, taking it internally from our Gateway representative. But I'm always concerned about who's going to do that work and how is it going to get done? And I know the Ponds has done an excellent job, but you can't just work off of committees, especially with Gateway assets, because we need the interjection between the two groups. That's just my thought on it.
I think we just have to develop as we move forward and see how we can handle these things. I think we should all have an understanding. I know we all look at the budgets. I'm not sure if everybody understood really what the O and M agreement was and what it means to us in our governing
Yeah,
situations. I think.
Doug, Joe, I think your idea is a good one.
Thank you.
Everybody should.
If I may, it sounds more intimidating than it really is.
It is, yeah.
At the time, and this is the way the genesis is, when those assets, security, landscaping, and funds, came over here, it came, the obvious question was, who's going to watch this stuff? Who's going to run it? Okay, and as time developed, we took ponds internally by this group. We just told them, okay, you guys stay out of it. We asked the district to stay out of it, and the ponds committee worked. For the security and landscaping, there was never a need to question it. Castle was doing a good job for WCINR, so there was no need for us to interject, although we did issue all of the contracts. This group issued the contract. They managed it for us. And as long as it was at no cost, I personally never had an interest. What did I care? Scott came, he reported, told us what he was doing, and everything was great. The more recent inquiries have been developed, as I've said in the past, with the $92,000 charge. That's the sum total of it. And it may be totally appropriate as we move forward in the future to continue that relationship. It may be there's a better way to do it. We don't know, but we're down the path to at least to look at it, which is good news. But don't get all hung up that this agreement is something really big and immutable and can't be changed. That's not the case. That is not the case at all.
I mean, if anybody wanted to sit down with Tony and I and, well, whatever, we can discuss that and get it done.
Well,
Anything that happens in the community, we know who's going to
I
manage.
think,
I gotta bring it up with Tony.
I think Joe's suggestion is a good one. Everybody gets a copy, and at the next meeting, if there are questions, we'll open the floor to questions.
But there shouldn't be any doubt to this group or to the community, if they want to talk about the tree line wall, who's managing it right now? He is.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what this tells you. So there's no gray areas. Oh, I don't know who does that.
Understood.
We know who's doing
Very good.
I mean, this actually came up when PPCA was trying to do all the maintenance and redo the guardhouse and everything else. It wasn't really their responsibility. It was ours.
it. Well, it's still ours now. It's always been ours.
And that's what I'm saying, but they had thought it was theirs.
But the day-to-day management, Scott comes and reports, and he brought Securitas here to report. I mean, you guys are getting all the management.
Right.
And always have.
Okay. Any other questions on this? Okay, Scott will send everybody copies, and we can have any necessary discussion the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
financial report. Glenn?
I sent to you the December.
Yeah.
And things do look in line, as we say, it's a moving target with numbers on when the receivables, when the payables. But I always look at, especially Gateway presenting me with their financials, the Pelican Preserve part is our reserves are sitting at $5.9 million. And the budget seems to be on track with that also, as is our shared expenses that Scott produces with the CDD. And are there any questions on the numbers?
Yeah, I have just a couple of kind of minor questions
You
here.
always do, Phil.
I know. Well, proves that I look at the exhibit.
That's good. You're the chairman. I agree.
I noticed, on most of the expense areas, we're well ahead of the game. I mean, we're below budget.
Good.
Which is good. I'm surprised, and I know because of when some of the services are performed or when the bills come in, that impacts how it's reported on here. I'm surprised at the streetlight expenses. I would think that those would be up to date, but we have had virtually none so far this year.
Streetlight, that's account 706521.
Yes.
You show actual $17. We budgeted 7708.
Or 49, and we budgeted 22,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so Scott, I'll defer to you. Because he pays our bills.
Are the reasons that the lighting bills come in so slowly, Scott, that they don't show up here?
I'm gonna have to check into that.
I think that I may be addressing part of that in my
Yeah.
next request.
It may have gone to the district
Yep.
instead of through the OLA.
Yep.
Oh,
Because that's
okay.
part of what I want to talk about.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
very good.
Remember, we made the changes on all the electric bills.
Yep.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
You'll notice when I talk about my sheet, you'll very clearly see that on
Okay.
there. So.
The other one I have is operating expenses. and it's got the note that says boardwalk. I'm assuming, since we're, the expenses are way over budget on that one, that there's the money that needs to be transferred to the reserves. Is that right? Or the funding has to come from the reserves?
That's
We're not
also
gonna-
on
We're
my,
not going to permanently run over budget on expenses here.
yep, that's on my sheet too.
That's on your sheet too?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
See, she's.
I'm way ahead of you.
She's
Okay,
the
yeah, you
accountant.
are.
She's ahead of it.
Okay, all right.
Good
We're-
comment.
When you're an accountant, you're ahead of the game.
Does anybody else have questions about these particular items?
One other item, and I'll point this out to you, it's street lighting repair expense, which is GL number 706527. And the reason you see that number there is, keep in mind, when an owner hits a light post, it takes 16 weeks to get the light post made and installed. And those incidents happened last year, so we got the insurance payment last year and the remaining invoice this year.
Carried over
Yes,
Okay. So that's the reason that we are over budget
Yes.
on that expense.
5608.
Yeah. Yeah, because street lights, street sign is $1,100 to replace. Street light posts, the tall ones, those are, what are they now? They're 18,000. So,
Okay.
and then the shorter ones are 8 to 12.
Mhm.
So the problem is getting the materials and getting them manufactured. They're not an inventory item.
Other questions on the financial report of Glenn?
One other, if I may. I don't recall Phil, the last time we did a updated reserve study,
Well,
but I did recall from my time on the board, we never fully funded it to the level that it should have been to be sustainable.
Mhm.
And I was just curious as to,
Well, we're looking at,
Well, I'm working with Laura because Gateway is going to do a reserve, and that's a good point you brought up. When I was at the last PPCA meeting, you brought in that fella that is a consultant in regards to the capital reserve fund. I was going to ask Phil, because you're on that board, would that be a firm that we could consider for a reserve study? That fella that was presented to us about the capital reserve funding?
I suspect we could. But I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I have a recommendation that was given to me by one of the HOA presidents, and it's called Reserve Associates.
Okay,
And they specialize in reserve funds. He's going to be sending me the contact information.
okay, well, we're going to get our ducks in a row in regards to who would be a good vendor for that. And then we're going to put out to bid what it would cost to do that study. Giving him our last one, that the fellow who last did it is no longer.
There's no
in
longer
business.
did we get it for free from that guy? I'm trying to
Oh,
remember.
no,
We did pay him?
we paid.
Okay, I kind of thought in the back of my mind,
No.
he was a resident.
He was
that's-
a resident, but he didn't do it for free.
Yeah, he-
Okay, I don't remember. As long as we keep the guys separate from the people that would want to do the work, in other words, just have a reserve analyst who that's his job.
Yeah.
He doesn't get you from the back end. Who's the district going to get?
We don't know yet.
Oh, we still don't even know.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause
So-
obviously we
so-
should
so
maybe
we're
roll
gonna-
it in.
We're going to look at the one that Joe has
Yep.
gotten information on. We're going to look at the one that the district will probably
Yeah, the
use.
firm we chose to be our auditor can do the reserve study, but we haven't committed to that yet.
Okay, and you need to share that guy, the one you had with them so they can consider that one too.
Okay.
Apparently, from what I understand is that's all they do is reserve studies. They
Oh,
got
that'd be great. Yeah,
no
if you could give me
skin in
that.
anything else. Just
And-
Okay.
do the study.
And I'll send you the fella's name, the firm from that PPCA meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
And then you can see, you'll have three.
great. Thank you.
And
Do you
if
have
I
that?
could,
Do you have that name?
Yeah, I wrote it down at the meeting, so.
yeah, and if I could just recommend whatever we end up with, we communicate it well, because I don't think the CA yet is of the mindset that there are two different kind of reserves. I know, we know there are, but we need to communicate to our
I agree with you
residents
on that.
what different things cover different things, like the community associations primarily, town center and those types of assets, whereas we take care of the roads, the boardwalk and things like that.
Yeah, no, yes. exactly.
Because when you throw out reserves, people's eyes glaze over.
But they are capital, they're all capital reserves.
They are all capital reserves.
They're just different kinds of.
Yeah, except that we got 5.9 million and CA has nothing right now. So I mean, we have been preparing for the proverbial rainy day. But it will be an eye opener to everyone when these things come in, how underfunded they are.
Okay, well, we'll have three choices there. And I thought too, with working with the district, if they do both, we might get a better deal,
Possibly.
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Okay, any more questions on that? If not, Laura, you want to?
Sure.
Take us through
I
your-
handed out the spreadsheet, the yellow column on. There were some extra ones on the table up here if anybody didn't get one. I've been working with Sonia, and as you can see, the parts that are gray, there's some of these items that we did not have a budget for even last year. That was when we started to transition those electric bills for the streetlights, irrigation, signs, gatehouse. That's when we started moving those meters over to the CDD. So that's why there was no budget even in fiscal 21 for those items. We again did not have a budget in fiscal 22 for those items. I think it crossed over while we were doing the budgeting. It must have been how they got missed. So I do need to put something in there because we're going to have those expenses for the rest of this year. So the gray is just basically kind of letting you know what we did in fiscal 21. And then for fiscal 22, we didn't have a budget for the boardwalk, but there was still some, the original amount that we had put in there was $1 million, $1,011,000. We did not spend all of that in fiscal 21. So those funds that weren't spent go into like your carry forward. So they're sitting in your capital reserves right now. So what I'm proposing to make sure that we have enough money to cover all of this is to transfer the $433,348 and then $84,000 of the road sidewalk maintenance. So it's a total of $517,348 out of your capital reserve fund to cover the expenses for the finishing the boardwalk. I think there's 2 bills that are still outstanding. That's what's under the projected. I saw the final bill I saw the estimate for the bollards. We haven't gotten the bill for that yet. I know it's coming. And the final bill from Foster to oversee the construction and everything for the bollards was made out to Castle, and I'm waiting for them to resend it with the CDD as a payee. So that's what that is. So we should be done with the boardwalk bills once that comes in.
So you'll be ready to transfer the whole amount? Including those bills?
Yes,
So
we've already
all of
paid
that-
everything but that. I've already paid $426,000 this year without moving any funds over, so I need to fix that. So in order to make everything whole and pay the bills that as far as I know, are outstanding, and I checked with Scott, and those are the last 2 that he was aware of as well. So that should make us whole on the boardwalk project then, that 433, should leave nothing in there. We'll spend it all. The utilities, the electricity bills, what I did is I had the first quarter of fiscal 22. So I had 3 months worth of data. I just took it and multiplied it, figured all things remaining equal, it would stay the same for the remaining 3 quarters of the year. So that's where I got those numbers. So those next 1, 2, 3, 4 lines would come out of your unassigned reserves. It's a total of $60,760.
So let me understand this. We're assuming we're going to continue spending.
Same as you have for the life. I had 3 months worth of data.
Why would that not come out of operations?
There was no budget for it. We didn't budget for it at all.
So these are 4 categories that we didn't budget.
Correct. And because we broke them out, there was something that we transitioned over from coming out of the O&M. I think it was coming out of the O&M over to where we are actually paying those bills. They're not coming out of your O&M anymore. So they have their own. They have their own lines now.
One of our last meetings.
Yeah.
One of them.
They happened late last year.
But last year, the bills were paid by someone.
They were paid partially by Castle and partially by us.
Okay, so when the comes to us, the money. Now that you're paying the bills, the money was being paid, so that money should come with it.
So you're saying you want me to transfer out of the O&M budget? which is where it would have been paid from prior from Castle.
I don't know, but I'm saying whoever paid it, which I'm hearing is Castle, and I guess I'm talking about the street lights, irrigation.
Yeah, all
Signs
the
you gave it.
electricity.
So somebody paid those for the last umpty-ump years. And if they are no longer paying that, then the money that they were collecting should come back to us.
Okay, I can transfer it out of the O&M account because that's where that money was going for the.
Because it
reimbursement.
was paid by community dues to the association, since that's who paid it.
Okay,
Yeah, we just.
Well, I'm throwing out a thought.
No, that
I'm
makes
just, I'm
sense. Yep.
thinking out loud.
Yep.
Hey, Laura, this is not the money, the 45,000 that we transferred. Actually, it's part of aeration for
Not
No.
that total separate thing. Cause I did budget. I just want to make sure people, I did budget for that. It's not a separate line item. It's included in aeration, but 45,000 was added for that to the aeration budget.
correct.
No, aeration is completely
That's
separate, Doug,
separate.
but you're right. But these 4 items had been paid from beginning of time on by somebody, and I guess we're gonna say it came out of WCI money or CA money or however you want to call that. So there ought to be a corresponding drop in that equal to the amount they're charging us now. And it's a benefit to the community because we don't pay sales tax. So it's a win-win. But the community association ought to be getting less money from us based on this.
Would that have been in that?
No, not that you request, but you were always getting it. You got the money from community association dues, right?
You would pay the FPL bills, right, and then include that in the reimbursement thing, and we would pay, okay, so I need to transfer that from the O&M. Yep.
It has nothing to do with the money.
Correct, the money is,
Cash.
the
It has to
money,
do with how you're accounting for it.
so the money is still being collected on the tax bill instead of going into the line item for the reimbursement to Castle, it'll now be dispersed onto these 4 line items. So I'll just move it from there.
Was it in the tax bill or was it in community association dues?
No, it'd be tax bill, anything that we do,
Everything in the O&M is tax.
yes.
I know it's in the O&M.
Is that
I'm
part of
saying-
that allotment?
In the past, when this was paid, was it paid by the district or was it paid by Castle?
It was paid by Castle through the O&M agreement, and it was replenished by the district for that checking account.
Okay,
But it's tax.
then how could we be in a deficit? If we've always been paying it, how come it's not there now?
It wouldn't show up on these. We didn't have these 4 line items were added last year when we took the meters over, and now the charges are billed directly to the district. So we didn't have those before. Before, these expenses would have showed up under the line item for the O&M. It would just been a chunk of money. They weren't broken out. You would see it on the detail that you get from Scott. They would have been there. So you were still paying it. It's just instead of me adding it to the 002, whatever the O&M line is, I'm going to take it out of there and move it onto these line items instead. It's still in the 002 budget. Nothing has changed. I'm just where the bottom line, the total is going to be exactly the same.
So we don't have a deficit. We don't have a deficit.
We won't. We don't have a deficit. No, I just need to move some money. I need to move it around. So now that I understand correctly, I will not,
It's putting the
I'm
beans in the
gonna
right
take
column.
back what I said.
It's how it's being written.
Yeah. I do need to take money out of your
Okay, you know where
capital.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, I do need to take money out of the capital fund, which is the majority of this. That's to cover the 84,000 that you want to spend to have Boness come and do your paving, because there's nothing in your budget for that this year. So the 84,000 of that, plus the remaining amount I need for the boardwalk would come out of your capital reserves.
That's right.
And then what I'll do is move the other $60,760 to cover the electricity expenses. I will transfer that from the O&M GL line to these. So.
Yes.
I think I actually understand.
Okay, the last comment, I'll shut up. If we paid this incorrectly in
It hasn't been.
in years, no,
No, yeah.
but when I'm saying incorrectly, I'm talking about the 6% sales tax. That's all I'm talking about. If this was paid and we included a 6% sales tax because Castle paid it, we should be able to collect that for a year or 2 and go back to whoever billed us and said, revise your bills and save us that money. And
Yeah.
stick- Oh, yes, you
Or
can too.
Light power.
I don't care who it is, you can do it. I
How?
don't know. Just as I said, because this was done over here in Gateway. When they paid their electric bills for their pumps and stuff, the HOA paid it. So the HOA said, no, that shouldn't have been us. It should have been a Gateway thing. Flavia did this. And she went over to Tallahassee or wherever and petitioned the company to get the money back. And they got it back. So I know it can be done.
Petition the state of Florida?
She petitioned the power company because it was paid incorrectly, paying a sales tax that wasn't required. And I'm saying and I don't remember how many years she went back. There was a moratorium. She got a couple of years worth. And all I'm saying, there's an opportunity to get us some money back
Well, and you're talking of what, 60 grand here?
for 3 or 4 years. Yeah, it's a lot of money. I'm 6%.
I agree, but I was told that from the state that we couldn't do that, but you're talking, I don't know how this.
It
Florida Power
depends.
and Light would give us.
When they bill an HOA,
They
Glenn,
sent it to the state, even if it was incorrectly collected through whatever.
Well, the way
account-
it was billed, it was
Has nothing to do with
correctly
the-
collected.
nothing to
because
do
it
with
was billed to
collections.
Castle.
this is
So-
just a bill. If the bill comes to them, they add the 6%.
Yep.
It incorrectly went to them. It should have come here. So therefore, we're entitled to that 6% overpayment for X number of
Okay, well,
years
tell me, who do we get the 6% from?
from whoever billed us that we paid,
Which would be.
which would be Florida Power and Light.
They told me I can't go back.
Well, they're wrong. Because if they did it for Gateway, they'll do it for us.
And who did that claim?
Flavia
to
Welsh.
Gateway?
Flavia Welsh, she was president of, is it not Gateway Greens? What is her?
Magnolia.
Magnolia Lakes. She's the one that put me onto it. That's one of the reasons that we started with aeration, electric and everything else.
She's on the CDD board.
So I'll get you her
Can
number.
you
but
get me?
I will
wanna
get you
talk
her
to
number and contact.
because I don't know how.
There was a lot of roadblocks in her path, Glenn, but she is tenacious. And she ended up going over to the Florida Power and Lights in Miami and sat there and they gave her the money. She got the money back. And that was only one little.
Hey, Bob, I think they gave her the money so she would go away because she is a bulldog.
Well, I'm not sitting in Miami.
Wait a minute, Glenn, we'll cover your expenses.
So 60 grand times 6% is 3,600
Per year.
per year times 4 is about 6. Yeah, I want 10% if I'm gonna sit there.
Plus expenses.
To pay her.
I have,
No, Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I just
Okay.
would like to talk to her because
Okay, we'll assume that you will talk to her and find out.
I'll get your name.
Bob will email
Yeah.
me her information. I will give her a call.
Yeah.
And her name again, first name?
Flavia.
Oh, yeah.
How do you spell that?
FFL.
VIA,
AVIA.
AV.
Yeah, FLA.
VIA.
VIA.
Okay, I'll wait information and I'm very curious because I've done sales tax claims in my past and that's an interesting one. Oh, okay. I'll call her myself.
Yeah, let me ask another question about this. So next year, we're gonna have to budget for these expenses. is that
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
As operating expenses.
Yep.
And they'd be pulled out of the O and M.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we would not include that in the total for the O&M. We'll include it broken out on these lines. Basically, we'll have to do for fiscal 23 what I'm doing right now for fiscal 22. So we'll have that going forward. We'll have more historical data too, since we did not start paying for these bills for all of fiscal 21. I'll have most of fiscal 20, pretty much a whole year. So I'll have a good idea what the actual costs should be.
You're saying the money was there. Why do we need to go into reserves?
We're not going into reserves for the electricity
Okay.
bills. For the capital, I do need to. For the
Capital,
boardwalk
yes.
and the paving, yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes. No, the other one I'm transferring on the O&M.
How do we remember when we get the budget time to do this?
That'd be my responsibility to remind you.
Okay, we accept that.
Okay.
Or unless I have a new business manager by that point, it will be their responsibility to remind you.
And,
We're holding you accountable.
and so all of you are aware, there's a different accounting process. You know, we talk about what Castle does. Castle manages 2 areas, PPCA and then the GSCDD assets. We actually have 2 checking accounts. You cannot intermingle funds between a taxing authority and an HOA. So they're separate. So when we submit our replenishment to our checking account to pay bills, it is automatically wired by the district into the CDD checking account. So we have 2 ways of handling the expenses for Pelican Preserve.
And all,
One's through the O&M, one's through HOA.
and all of the expenses, you guys review the replenishment request. Sonia reviews it, I review it. So there's multiple people looking at making sure that the stuff that comes out of the O&M really is things that should be paid out of the O&M.
And then we have, and just all it's going to do in the future is on the Gateway District budget, it's going to increase their operating budget and decrease the O&M budget. But it will still be paid out of our tax roll. It's just where it's reporting to.
But we will still see it as part of our budget. Is that
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, you'll actually it'll be
Yep.
more visible when you go to do your budget this next year because each of
Yep.
these things will be broken out on their own line where before they were all lumped under O&M.
So this monthly report that Glenn gives us, we'll have those four more lines
Nope.
on.
The CDD financials will.
The
Yes.
CDD finance.
Yes.
Yeah, these over here.
The stuff that you get from Glenn, that's what comes out of your
Yep.
O&M budget.
Mhm.
And these things will show up on the CDD
And then
financials.
I add these to the bottom now of our reporting.
Okay,
So next year you won't have those GL numbers or expenses within the O&M budget. They'll appear in the Gateway budget.
Okay.
Okay.
Any further questions on this?
No, my head's spinning.
Yeah.
There is no O&M budget.
That's what I gave you. It's the financials and the budget. There's a separate budget for O&M.
It's an accounting for what we pay, but not-
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
do we need a motion to allow Laura to make these transfers?
I don't know if you need a formal motion. If you're okay with it, I'll just make the
Yeah,
transfers.
I think
So-
not, Carol, because we.
I just need your approval, so,
That's fine.
okay. And you're
Thank-
okay with
thank
that?
you
So
for-
the 517,348 from capital, the rest I'll just transfer out of the O&M. Okay.
Thank you
Got it.
for asking the question.
It was a lot of money, so I didn't want to just do it. And I will
Okay.
issue your purchase order to Bonas then, now that those funds are there, because I didn't have any money to do it. So I will sign the contract and get the PO off to them tonight, today or tomorrow, depending on when I get out of here.
This is, I'm sorry.
The Bonas, the paving on Avila.
Oh, yeah.
And we have an interested party here. Did you hear that? We're going to issue the purchase order for your street.
Okay. Let's move on to, if there are no more questions on this, move on to post order approval.
Get into it. Sorry, the mouse is not cooperating.
You didn't print this out. There was a lot of pages.
Georgia does all this. I just click the buttons.
Okay.
I sure did. approve.
49 pages, it says.
Now, one of the things is with regard to this, when we finalize it, is that we have been telling people that, we should be issuing at least perhaps a condensed version of the post orders. And it seems to me that would serve that purpose are the numbered things in the beginning. That we ought to send, yeah.
The quick reference guide, that makes
quick
sense.
Reference guide to all of our constituents. They want to know, people want to know what are we telling the gate, what are we telling the people at the gatehouse to do? What should they be doing at the gatehouse? And-
I would say those and probably your emergency numbers, those 3 pages.
Mhm.
You know what I like to include, just so people can see it, is the index of the different sections. Again, it
This?
doesn't really mean a whole lot, but if somebody has a question, they could go say, oh, that's part of this thing. Then they could come or look for that particular section to better understand it.
So your first 4 pages, basically.
Yeah, I find the table of contents very interesting. When I get information or send it out, I include it just so they know it's there. It's not included in the package I send, but if there's a question, they can see, oh, that's in there, and they ask for additional information.
Do you post this on your website?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Why not just post it, do your summary, those first 2 pages through an email or
Mhm.
communication, and then the whole document put on the website,
That's good.
right?
Mhm.
I agree with that.
And that way, if you update it, it's easy because you can just update it in the one place, and that way your website would always have the most current edition.
Agree.
Is there a PPAC website now?
PPCA.
PPC.
Lifestyles.
AC Advisory Committee. That's, you know,
No, the CA.
We should have one. That'll really confuse people.
Yeah.
You'll be in charge of the website.
So we will post this on the PPCA website. Is that what people are suggesting?
I agree with that.
Well, I think that's a
We
little,
won't post the whole document, we'll just post the summary.
No, we're talking about putting the whole thing in there just so people can open it up. Not just.
Not many will, but
Not the summary, but it's there if they want to read it.
We'll have to edit some of the stuff out,
like what?
my phone number.
They know that anyways.
No, they don't. You know, oh, emergency contact, I can call him 24/7. Hey, if you want it. that's
Scott,
fine.
I vote that we edit that out.
Is,
Yeah, that
this
shouldn't
can
be in
also be on gateways.
We aren't publishing much on our website anymore because we're trying to keep everything ADA compliant. So we don't do it for any of the other associations. We just have specific CDD stuff on ours.
Yeah, that's something we need to keep in mind. If that's an ADA concern,
Ken,
then we should.
We're actually going through an entire rewrite and refresh of our website right now. I'm hoping it'll be up in the next couple of months. We're redoing all of our documents that we have out there. So we're putting pretty much bare minimum things we have to by statute have on our website and nothing more.
We can thank some lady somewhere, I forget what state or where she lives in Florida, but she did post a lawsuit a number of years ago, which
She
became a
lost.
class action. and
Yeah.
ADA compliance means we can't put everything on the internet that we used to because people that can't see or hear very well can't figure it out. And so, okay, we should
Well,
take.
Mr. Chairman, do you think we should post the whole amount or just do
No,
an
I think
email?
what Laura just said, we can't.
Yeah.
Well, you can, as long as, I mean, it's your website, but as far as us for the CDD, we wouldn't post it on our website. That would be for, I was just wondering if you had a website, if
well,
already.
yeah, we really don't. And the website
Well,
is
you-
not ours. It's a PPCA.
Do you have a
website.
Facebook page?
Hmm?
Or is this
No.
Pelican have Facebook? You don't have Facebook either, your community? Oh, you all have your own little community.
So
that's
what,
right.
what mechanism could be used if we were just to put the first couple of pages available?
We
And
would
say-
put it under the documents within the Pelican Preserve Lifestyle document section. of the
Okay,
website.
and then say the full document could be made available
Upon request.
upon
Yes.
request.
Yeah.
And who, okay,
But then
who would collect
they
that?
have
Who
to-
would allow that?
They have to have the reference to PPAC and the GSCDD to do that. The PPAC should, I believe PPAC should always be listed if it's something we're
We'll
responsible
take a
for.
look at the directory.
Yeah,
I can update the directory or change the directory at any time. That's not an issue. I think it confuses owners more when we have so many directories, and within the directories, you have subdirectories and different documents.
you know, I don't mind if it's all in one directory as long as the proper political governing body is listed there, because people start blaming the community association for stuff that they aren't responsible for. They don't need more complaints. If it's our deal, they should be coming and complaining to us. And
I don't have any problem.
yeah,
with
as
that.
long as, I think if it's clearly identified, however the easiest thing is.
I'll clearly identify it the best I can on a website. And it'll be up to the readers to be able to decipher.
Yeah, I mean, Joe has a point.
You know,
There are a lot of
Phil-
people who are not aware of PPCA versus PPAC.
Yeah.
The difference between the two.
I have no problem.
I know that we're going to, further down the agenda, we have something about pavers. And I think Mr. Geppert made a comment to somebody about the PPAC and they interpreted it as a Pelican Preserve Architectural Committee that meets twice a week, and they're going to be going over there.
Yeah.
And I wrote back and said, there is no Pelican Preserve Architectural Committee. I think it meant the advisory committee. So clearly defining who has the responsibility, to me, is critically important. And if it confuses people, and we've done the best we can.
Just want to let you know, we'll do the best we can.
Thank you. That's all I ask.
Don't confuse people.
That's what I ask.
Hey,
Now,
hey, Phil, when we look at websites and stuff like that, I mean, the Pelican Preserve Ponds Group, which is part of PPAC, has a website. You know, we have a GIS system. I mean, it should be looked at. Maybe we expand that if you want to put other things beyond just the Ponds Group and the GIS system there. We're already paying for that today. It'll just be a little more money for more information to store, but we have a website.
And normally, I'm just gonna throw something out there, you shouldn't have to pay more for it, because normally you just pay a flat hosting fee and it doesn't really matter unless you're putting a lot of huge things on there, and this is just a document, so you shouldn't have to pay extra to have it added. As long as it would fall under a menu, they may have to do a little rewrite to put it out there, but as far as hosting, you shouldn't have to pay more.
Doug, that sounds like a good idea to me, and it addresses, Joe, some of the things.
Because that's part of my budget today is paying for that. So if we can multi-purpose that just is better for everyone.
How do I link to that website? From where? From the lifestyles to the ponds?
No. There's a link. There's a link.
Huh?
You got to know it. You have to know it's there. But that just opens the door for what you've been saying, whether we put it in the lifestyles as the link, because there's a lot of information on ponds that residents may want to know, but don't know it's there. And we haven't done a very good job. We worked with our CA Communication Committee a couple times. It's been up and down, but we've never really moved forward with it. So what I'm hearing is if you, on the Pelican Preserve Lifestyles website, we then had a subset that said, here's the ponds, here's the landscape, and then here's security, because those things are under PPAC, and all the various links are there.
And we had to do that with the Master Association documents because we no longer use the Master Association website. It is now under lifestyle. So
Yeah.
at the top, there is access to the community association.
Correct. Have one for the community association, one for the document, and one for PPAC,
I agree.
of which this could be a component.
Well, we have a marriage with the community association.
Absolutely.
And the advisory committee, and we should make that the best marriage possible and have links and help each other and cooperate with each other. I think we have a community that depends on all of us.
We'll just have to go to the management of the town center to create that link because they have a web designer to do that.
Yeah.
And then we'll have to have a vehicle in place to upload documents.
So Doug, how would we do that?
Who's the gatekeeper?
One of our group is Peggy Hall is the person that's right now the main interface. She's part of the Ponds group. That's her responsibility, and she interfaces with the web group.
And if she ties into whoever the town center person is that operates our site, that would be a perfect interface. Because Doug's got a lot of reports per pond that the residents would probably love to know what's going on with their pond. What was the last issue?
Because the only access I have is I'm able to upload documents to the Master Association. So, and then the rest of it is.
TBD, something to be looked at. I think it's probably a great idea if we could do it.
Because you have Club Essentials, which is the web provider, and they're the ones that do the design and updates.
And one thing.
And then you can add documents whenever you want.
Yeah, one other comment to Laura's question about adding new things to the GIS that we'd be paying more. We really don't, only for what we ask them to do. If they build something, we pay for that. But we don't pay anything on a monthly fee for them other than nominal amount.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
assume you're just paying like web hosting.
Yeah,
Unless
if
they
you're just
add
putting documents up there,
They should do that for.
That'll be for nothing.
Yeah, and
So if we
landscaping
could-
work group's going to be looking at adding to that GIS system. So
I could see the security group and the landscape group both having information they might want to store there.
Yeah.
we're looking into that right now.
So I guess my question is who can arrange to have this posted up there and the correct.
I would put Peggy Hall as a responsible individual. I'll talk to her. That would be the one to lead that effort.
Okay.
I don't have that expertise.
The biggest time, Doug.
So Doug, she would do that not only for ponds, but for.
Right. Because I envisioned the trouble ticket system being able to be used for more than just ponds. I've always envisioned that it's being at a bigger level.
Yeah, I'd like to see the
So-
link so that, because I didn't know that even existed.
Well,
I've got it, I can send it to you then, but again, if you don't have somebody explaining it to you, we need a better tutorial, and we keep working on that. So
Do
you
you
can
get
really
many, do
grasp
you
what's
get
there.
many hits on that though?
Oh, yeah, yeah, as a
Really?
matter of fact, we do. We just had Scott Connell check that recently to see if it was being used, and I don't know, we had like 70 hits.
It is more complex. It was presented at a alliance meeting or something. I mean, it's been presented multiple times. It's just that, one goes in one ear, goes out the other. We use it a lot within the group ourselves.
Those that know it use it.
Okay.
There's a big pool of people that don't.
And Bob, it seems to me we put out a bulletin on it at one time.
I know we
Yeah.
created one, I think it never came out.
It never
from
came
Bob.
out.
I
Okay.
might be wrong.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
you're right, Phil. There was a bulletin on it.
Okay, it did go out.
Mhm.
So if we could circle back, because we've kind of gotten involved in this. Three people from the Safety and Security Work Group took the existing post orders along with Christopher Santos and redlined all of those and sent it to Weiser, who then made those appropriate changes. It was subsequently checked over, and it's approximately 40 pages. So it's a pretty significant document. But one example of a specific change, if there's an accident where somebody runs into a gate, as an example, now it will always be reported as a police report for insurance purposes and others, to make things neat and clean. So that's just one example of things that were updated in this post order. So significant amount of work is done, and I'm of the opinion that it is been thoroughly looked at, researched, updated, and we are in a position to make an approval on it. Subsequently, I'm sorry?
The example you provided, accident of a gate, somebody hit a gate. What was the past practice?
Well, in the past, it was hit and miss in terms of a police report being done. So subsequently, there might be some film on it, and there may not be. And there's no police report, so now it's not a clean type of thing. We will now always be keeping the video that would capture license plates and so forth. There'd be a police report, so everything is in order to make sure that insurance is covered and or an individual is responsible.
No faulty memories.
Exactly. So it just cleans things up in terms of what the expectations are of the security officer at the gate. So as I say, in my opinion, I think we're,
Okay, so you-
I would make a motion that we vote to approve the updated post orders.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a discussion. I guess, I assume that really has to be run by the CDD board.
I-
I would assume.
I don't think so.
No?
That was my,
I thought the chair of Board of Supervisors signed us a document.
I didn't look at it.
We didn't look at Stony Brook and they just changed. So did
Did
Gateway
they?
Greens. They changed their security companies and that didn't come to the board.
Supervisor. So I'm just, I think that's a form. I don't think that's.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Because I don't think that, I mean, it's not really up to us to dictate what you guys do with the people that come and go inside of your community. I mean, it's your,
well,
but
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
well, my suggestion would be that if we want to, we approve it, then Laura, you could check to be sure whether we have to take it further or not.
I can do that, yes.
And the board does review
Yeah.
your minutes.
Yes.
We do
Yeah.
review feedback.
Yeah, yeah.
If it draws any questions.
So if you determine that it needs to go to the,
To get board approval, I can do that.
you
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are there any other discussions?
I'm just sorry, it's going really fast. I'm just trying to skim through it. quick.
Okay, and the Randy, the document that we received is that final document, is that right?
that's correct.
Yeah, I believe the only thing that the board needs to approve is actually the contract. So as long as this isn't amending or changing any of the terms in the actual contract with Wiser, they should not need to be involved in it. Yeah, so
Okay.
that I don't, I'll double check that, but I don't think, because we're responsible for the contract, and this is not a contract, this is just you letting them know how you would like to conduct themselves while they're under your employee.
Okay. Any other discussions on this? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving the post orders as presented?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Passes
Aye.
Phil, I have one comment. Would you want to, this was a topic of conversation at the President's Council, the post orders. I think one president requested a copy of it. Can we just let the President's Council know that it's been done?
Well, yes, I think
We'll just send it out to all of them.
we just. send it-
Okay,
send it
okay,
to all.
that would be good.
Yeah.
Make them feel special.
Okay. All right, move on to Casella pavers. And I'm going to ask Mr. Geppert to give us a little bit of a background. I think we've discussed this before, but just to.
Yeah, by way of background, and I'll try and keep it brief, but apparently every community in Pelican Preserve has pavers at the entrance by the monuments, except for Prato and Casella. So when that was brought to my attention, I reached out to Tetra Tech, and they're on the line with us, to investigate what kind of documents have been submitted by Lennar WCI that would either show pavers or mention them in any way, shape, or form in terms of permit requirements, plans, scale drawings, anything at all that might indicate they had a responsibility to put the pavers in. Well, the good news was we found it for Prato. There weren't some plans or drawings. So Prato is being installed, and Stephen Agapi or Danny Nelson will tell us how much that was. I just don't remember how much it was for Prato. But we couldn't find anything up to now for Casella. Although we did get an email from one engineer of Lennar saying that they were going to, or implying that they were going to put the pavers in Casella, and then had some language in there according to the plans or whatever, but there were no plans. So for a while there, we had hoped that Casella would be done. So to take the first tack is, what do you do if you're a resident of Casella? They asked me, what did I think of them getting a petition of their residents that were interested in this to present to PPAC? I said, well, that's as good a position anyway to get people's attention. So I think that is taking shape.
It is, if you talk to CC.
Okay, so CC, they have a petition of their residents to implore us to do it. The options that PPAC has right now, as I see it, well, there's a couple. First, and I've talked to Tony about doing this, could we bring legal efforts against WCI based on the fact that it was kind of implied that they should have put the pavers there since they were everywhere else? And I didn't get a real good feeling from Tony that that would bear any fruit. And the other part of that nickel is it probably costs as much to do the suit as it would to install the pavers. So the next tact would be that the Casella residents themselves could assess themselves money to pay for those pavers. I mean, if you really, really want it, you could do that. There is a third option. Since PPAC owns the roads, the district, you could just say, okay, that's something that we agree with and we're willing to fund. And there's probably other options, but that's kind of where we're at right now. I think we have pursued, and Danny, you can chime in here now. Are there any other drawings, maps, plans, whatever that we haven't pursued as far as requiring Lennar to do it? And there may be some drawings in the city where they may have presented something to the city relative to Casella and just said things were going to be typical. Well, typical would mean to be the same as the other communities. So I'll go to the engineering side of it. What, if anything, can you guys offer us?
Yeah, so first of all, very well put. We have reached out to Lennar, and we're actually trying to get drawings from the city. I'm not optimistic that we'll find anything that's really different than what we have. So just as a little bit of background, like Bob said, is there were a couple that showed pavers for entrances to the communities. Most did not. Carina did not. Casella did not. Matarita did not. Yet they did install them. They did install them in some areas where they did not show them on the plans they submitted to us. So what we're trying to find out, like Bob said, is are there drawings that were submitted to the city that they did not submit to us. So there is no requirement per the permit criteria manual for pavers. So if it's part of some landscaping plans or something that they submitted to the city, that's what we're trying to find out, but I'm not optimistic. I did reach out to Tony as well to see if by chance they might have included it in their bond. Tony said that, if they weren't shown on the plans, likely not, but we'd have to look at the bond. So Laura did ask us for, what community we're talking about or something, because she's got what I think like 33 bonds for Pelican. So we haven't got back with her on that, but we'll follow up with you on that, Laura. But I don't think you're really going to find anything. It's probably a needle in the haystack, but we can explore that. So that's where we're at. We're still waiting on drawings from Lennar and or from the city, but I don't know that it's going to be any different than the information we already have.
Can we try and wrap that up, that search, by March 1st? So at least we'll know in a couple of weeks and before our next meeting.
What are we talking about dollar wise?
So that's.
What did it cost for Prado? Somebody said 60.
They were about, it was 60. It was in the 60s. It was in the 60s.
Yours, yeah, this Prado is a lot smaller. I mean, I'm sorry, Casella is a much smaller. Yeah, I said that because they're just talking about the width of the bridge. Yeah,
So what,
well,
you're looking at 30 or 40,000 probably, right?
30 feet wide or 30 feet long. I've measured that monument.
Okay. And the other possibility is if we go to Lennar and say, since they're doing Prado, I don't think it's done yet. Whoever they've engaged for Prado, to let them also do Casella, and maybe we'll just pay for the bricks, let them pay for the labor, or vice versa. We pay for the bricks, they pay. If we could come up with a way to do that.
I have a comment. I had a problem with my house, with my driveway. They kept breaking it, and they ultimately were going to have, there's 4 slabs of concrete, and I was going to have 3 different pours of concrete, which said I was going to have 3 different colors. And they said tough, and I said, that's fine. I'm going to make a game out of it and paint all 4 of them a different color. You guys talk about conformity in the community. You have it in your documents. You require it. Everybody's got to conform to this or that. I want my driveway to conform with itself and blend into the community. I actually ended up ripping out 2 slabs and putting 2 in. So I have 2 and 2, at least there's some conformity there. I don't know if the word conformity in our documents along the way could be an influence, and that might be a legal argument, but they do want conformity, and we all want conformity of some sort in our community, and that conforms. If everybody else has it, to conform with everyone else.
Well, the short answer is I totally agree with you, but Tony's saying it's going to cost a whole lot more, even if we win.
Yeah.
And if we lose, we'd have to pay their legal costs.
I think you're at the point, Bill, Bob, I think we're at the point that it's either going to be the HOA, Casella HOA pays for it, or PPAC does. I don't think the other options are going to come through.
I don't either.
Well, I'm looking at a Google map here and Cypress Grove runs in, ma'am, you're in Casella.
Yes,
So where are you proposing to put those pavers?
surrounding the monument that says Casella, which is actually at the very entrance to the bridge. It's perpendicular to the circle.
So you want that whole roundabout to be
No,
pavers? No?
No.
But approximately how
Just the
much, what's the square footage? of
See,
the
Cece,
measurements
would
that
you,
we're talking
would you
about?
come up to the podium and
Randy, that monument's
Introduce
about
yourself.
30 feet in length. We're landscaping it, so I've been over there taking measurements. And I think from where you take from the circle going in towards Casella, heading east, that would be about a 30-foot, 35-foot long stretch. And it's
It's
two
just,
road, it's 1.5 roads or width
yeah, I mean,
wide.
so it's the center. I'm Cece Haas, the president of Casella too. So there's the center, there's the monument right in the center, and then there's like a single lane of traffic entering and a single lane of traffic
Okay.
exiting. So it's the width of whatever a single traffic lane is on each side. And to quote Joe, who toured it, it's about 30 feet long. So we're talking about just surrounding the monument, obviously not the whole circle. Obviously, no, definitely not.
I'm still, like, you come up
about
Cypress
1,200
Grove,
square feet.
you come up Cypress Grove, you hit the roundabout.
Yes,
You can go one way to Casella or the other way.
there's no, you can either make a right to Corona, or you can go straight into Casella, or you could make a left into the Prado, going toward Prado, which runs along the pond.
How much are you estimating that? to be?
I don't know the dollars. That's something I don't know. I'm assuming it's less than what Prado, because they're doing the whole circle. That's a big area. So whatever you've heard for Prado, I'm assuming it's less, but I have no thing to really base
Yeah,
that on.
the Prado, though, the road level was kept lower so they could put the pavers in. We would have to dig up that road, redo the
There's
paving
cost involved.
and get it lowered so that the pavers are equal to the existing road.
I understand that.
And you need permitting, you need engineering, you need construction work. So it's not just pavers we're talking about.
Exactly.
I think we're looking, if I did my numbers right, we're looking at about 1,200 to 1,500 square feet of road work, including the cost of the pavers, which whatever Prado's paying, it'll be more than that. You bring in equipment to dig up the macadam,
Yeah.
resurface, put the proper surface back down on the ground. It's going to be a long project.
Bob Geppert and I had this discussion when we earlier thought we might be able, the urgency was, can we get an answer before they go ahead and lay the blacktop? And he said, hey, if they're responsible, it'll be their cost to tear it up. But obviously, we haven't been able to nail them for the responsibility for it at this point. I was just hoping that WCI had maybe filed something before Lennar was even in the scene.
I don't even like that little curve, that little dip there.
People have an issue with that, but at least it slows people down coming in, because
Well,
we don't even
that-
have a 15-mile
Then
sign
it's a
there.
good thing.
Yeah. Okay,
so the problem is that we'd have to redo it in order to do this.
From
which
scratch,
elevates the
from
cost.
scratch.
Which elevates the cost, I'm sure.
Well, I agree. Let's ask Danny to pursue these last items and let's bring it here. And if they don't turn up, as Danny seems to think, we have the two choices. We can either
Well, yeah, we need two things. First, that they're not responsible.
right.
Once we got that cleared. The second thing is, Dan, what would it cost to do it?
Right.
And then if we have that information for next PPAC, then we can see what next steps might
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
At least you'll know how big the cost
Can I
is.
just ask, who is
Sure.
Dan?
He's the vice president of Tetra Tech, and
Okay,
he's an asset to the district.
okay,
He's the
thank you.
district
I
engineer.
just didn't know who the source was.
Yeah, I
Thank you
do.
all.
Yeah, he's one of the people we deal with.
Okay, any more discussion of this? Okay, we're gonna move on to golf cart language review. Scott, will you give us just a brief outline as to what the problem is?
All right, Scott Chernow, property manager at Pelican Preserve. The question really is we need clarification. The amendment to the specifications in the golf carts and what has been practiced over the years are different. One, do all golf carts need to have equipment, headlights, turn signals, etc.? Or are those only required for nighttime driving? Probably for 10 years, it's only required for nighttime driving. So the amendment said all golf carts. So if we do all golf carts, you're going to have to go back to owners that have had golf carts for 10 years and say, we can't register your golf cart because it doesn't have all the nighttime equipment that's required. So the best way around this is to go back to the Board of Supervisors and have them change that wording in the amendment to coincide with what's been being done at Pelican Preserve for probably over 10 years now. So
I would suggest that that's the way for us to go. I don't think we want to, in effect, we don't want to tell people, well, you now have to go have this stuff installed on your golf cart. If they haven't, if they don't drive it at night, they don't need the equipment.
yeah,
We need to grandfather in, and I know that there's some that have those banners in the front, original owner, original something or other. Yeah, we can't stop people that have bought these things years ago before this was a requirement. I think they just have to understand they can't drive them at night. And if they're stuck at the town center and it gets dark, they can't drive them on the road. Yeah, I'm in favor of changing
Really?
it so that we accommodate all those original owners.
I'm just saying, really?
Well, what the rule is and what they do is.
Yeah, I was looking at it, the reality of it. So
Yeah, but I always thought it was required because I know when I moved, I've been here a long time. I know I had to put them on my golf cart. The lights and the turn signals, I had to do it.
well, and the thing, and that's what we're talking about, Doug, is that what is written in the rules is different from the amendment. So that's the
Do
difference.
we know what the original rules were for golf carts when people first bought them? I think whatever the original rules were,
It was,
if it didn't require any of that equipment, then people bought them. They're still in the community.
well, I know, that's why I'm bringing this up.
Right.
Instead of saying
But
all
this is-
carts, it would
But I was
need to
listening
say
what Doug
carts.
said they made him put them on.
Yeah.
We're on the same page.
Yes.
Scott, I had a question on the wording on number 6, where it says golf carts may only be driven on the east side of Tree Line Avenue, not permitted to cross Tree Line.
That's correct.
How would we have the authority to make that kind of wording? Because now there's going to be,
We're not making that type of authority. That's the district.
That's a district.
The district did that because of the width of the cart path over there.
This is a district resolution.
It's in the DRI.
Yes.
It's part of the district.
Yeah.
And so, this was drawn up by the district
okay.
originally, and so.
How are they going to enforce that when
Well,
people go to the new neighborhood?
Well,
They won't, because now the new neighborhood, they put in the multimodal path. River Boulevard and down to the new community.
Yeah.
It will be extended when the next few parcels are built.
Right.
And at that time, you will be able to drive your cart over there because we have a crossing at Pelican and Tree Line. And then you'll be able to go right down to the shops. It was always the intent. And we made them dig up the sidewalk on the east side because it wasn't big enough and make it large enough to accommodate the multi-building, which WCI and Lennar did.
My question was just because when it's listed in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, how's it enforced?
We can do that.
Well,
Enforcement is the DR.
Well, getting back to the lights though,
Yeah.
Number 2 now reads, the operation of golf carts on district roads within Pelican Reserve is limited to between the hours of sunrise and sunset unless the golf cart is equipped with functioning headlights, brake lights, turn signals, and a windshield.
What's wrong with that language?
That's great.
Leave it alone.
I think
I
Lee
agree.
County is
Solve
the
the
same way.
problem.
They're,
Mhm.
the Lee County rules, from what I can see, are the same. If you want to drive in the dark, you got to have headlights. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's sunrise to
It seems
sunset.
to me that language covers us.
It
does
covers
not?
us. I agree.
I agree too.
Is there a problem with that language, Scott?
no, it just, in one section, it says, do all golf carts. It says the word all requirement.
Which one? Where's that?
Let's see.
Remove all.
Well, and that's, but to remove it from the amendment or the resolution, that would have to be done by the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah,
Remove it,
I need to
make a
find it.
proposal, and we'll-
That's what I'm trying to.
Well, yeah, that's all I'm asking for. Yeah,
We agree.
I mean, it's just a simple task.
Mhm. Okay.
Here,
All right. Go
it
back up
says
to number
unless
1,
here as
Scott.
well.
Hold on.
I'm controlling it
All right, Laura,
all the way at the beginning.
right at the beginning. All right. Golf carts should be operated and driven in the undesignated 4-foot outside travel lane shoulder. We don't have a 4-foot outside travel lane.
That's why it
shoulder.
says it's undesignated. There's no line.
Yeah.
That means no line. That means they're just supposed to drive off to the right.
Yes, that's all that means.
John, we went.
We went through this before.
This was a great battle.
Did we have?
Yeah.
Did we ever go through this one?
All right, so
It pains me to even bring it up.
Yeah, it's okay.
The fact of the matter is, the word should was put in there for a reason. Didn't said golf carts are required to be operated or driven in the undesignated. It said they should be operated and driven in the undesignated. So even if you don't drive them in that lane, you're okay, because they should be, but they're not required to be. Agree.
If you're gonna make a left turn on Cypress Grove and Tree Line, you're okay being in that.
Yep.
Yeah.
We should put something in there that says when you pull out of Cypress Grove and you're gonna make a left up at the, up Benito, you can't drive all the way down in the left-hand lane. But they do.
So Scott, you found where the all is? In your documents there?
Yes,
Where is it?
I don't have it.
We'll just find it, amend it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all we need to do. That's all I'm asking to do is to remove all. That's it.
You agree, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman?
so, well, I think what we need is a motion to amend
The resolution.
the resolution 2018-04 to remove the requirement that all golf carts must have this equipment.
Yeah.
I make the motion
You make that
to,
motion?
I will make the motion to amend the 0-218 amendment to remove all and remove the word all.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And this was brought up by one of our owners.
Okay, and Laura, I assume that you will figure out how we have to state this, take it to the, work with Scott.
Yeah,
as
Tony, you'll
as
have to
where
bless it.
Where the change needs to go. Okay, thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
Bob will approve it.
Okay. Association manager report and Wiser.
Here I am. Scott Charnot, property manager, Pelican Preserve. The only other item I have is I gave you all a copy of the traffic report. Wiser representatives could not be here today. They were actually interviewing candidates for Pelican Preserve. We've made a few changes to the staff after my comments and Chris's comments on their performance, and they're bringing in more experienced staff members because not only the size of our community, but the sheer number of cars that go through our front gate. So,
Yeah, we increased 7,000 in 1 month.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's not our all-time high.
No.
Our all-time high was March of 21, 94,000 will come through that gate. And we got to keep in mind, 80% come through the gatehouse between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. So 12 hours, 80% of these cars come through. It is a busy gate.
And that's why you double the security force.
That's right.
That's right.
Have you had complaints why they're interviewing new people or just more staff?
No, it's my complaints to them,
Oh.
Yeah.
What are you complaining about?
their performance.
You must be getting feedback from someone.
No, actually, I get some feedback, and some feedback is valuable, but when I go up and inspect the gatehouse and they're not following their uniform protocols, they're sitting on the chair doing their job instead of standing up greeting the owners as they come in. There's just certain performance items, or they don't scan the guest pass.
Is there a TV in that guardhouse?
Yes.
Yeah, they're not doing all of the things that should be done
Yeah.
that are listed in that.
Post orders?
This post order.
Yeah.
I have a question. I assume that there is a bathroom in that guardhouse.
Yes, there is.
And if there's only one person there attending the gate
Yes.
and they have to use the facilities, is there a policy? I know a contractor that has come in and the gate was down. No one was in the guardhouse.
Those to call the rover.
Yes, that's the
They
policy.
don't know that. They just sit there. And I have a few times now come in and I haven't seen anyone in the guardhouse and the gate just up, which I say eliminates the problem. At least people can enter, but it's not doing what we're supposed to be doing. So if
If-
somebody is in the
yeah.
gate and they have to use the facilities, what, do they have any instructions?
You just call the rover.
Gate up is good. Or
Yeah.
they should call the rover and tell the rover to come
You
in.
come in, and that's how they do it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, okay. As long
I mean, it's a simple,
So
it's a
there's
simple
no excuse-
process.
There's no excuse for the
No.
gate to be down.
No.
I just know that it's happened a couple times.
Well, here's how it could happen. If the patrol officer is engaged with an owner in another situation and the gatehouse attendant really has to go,
Then I approve them putting the gate up and
Then-
leaving it up.
then-
and
then
letting
that
someone-
could happen.
I'd rather risk someone coming
Yeah.
in than someone sitting there and stewing for.
yeah. And again, as this governing body has done in the past, is, we have to manage it. So
Well, that,
if there is a problem, you just have to notify me day, time, and I'll take care of it.
Patience,
I
patience.
got your nighttime emergency number, Scott.
Yes, you do. And I put my phone on silent at that time.
No, I think.
No, actually,
I think
I don't.
Putting the gate up is a good thing to do. And
Okay.
That's a rarity.
I would
Scott?
say it is.
Scott, anything else to report?
I do not have anything else to report. Are there any questions
Any
as far
questions
as
of
Pelican
Scott?
Preserve?
I have one question, and it's just, there's been a lot of comment and fluff on some of the Facebook Pelican Preserves about the gate entry and so forth. And I would just like to request if I could have permission to take this number of people that are coming and going. I think it's public knowledge, and just put that on Facebook so people that are complaining can actually see the volume and understand it's saying a few thousand people are coming in, see that it's 77,670. And I would like to just let people know what the facts are in the community. Maybe there's better, maybe you can put it in your notes, Scott. I think people ought to know how many
Yeah.
people are actually using that gate.
I
Well,
think
we
you'd
do,
be surprised.
we do put reminders out, but like yesterday, we had 15 vehicles in the guest lane to enter. And you could have put another 10 vehicles to get you out to tree line. So you got about 25 vehicles that can line up there before tree line. If one guest is not called in or entered in dwelling live, it takes 3 to 5 minutes to handle it.
Oh, yeah, I'm not complaining
So,
about
but
that.
but again, that's what creates our backup at the front gate.
Can we just put how many people came in
Sure.
January in your note, just
Yeah.
so they see the physical number activity at that gate?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay. Any
Scott,
other questions? Go ahead, Randy.
something you just mentioned about the potential backup. As I recall, last meeting, we talked about a computer being down or a printer being down that caused some issues with dwelling live. Is that something
Actually,
that was able to be resolved pretty quickly or?
yeah, I was just waiting to get the new printer in and then having dwelling live formatted to the computer.
Okay.
So, but the only issue, it was more perception than anything. It was actually, they had to fill out a guest pass by hand instead of having the printer print it.
I see. I
So-
think I got a call.
Yeah.
From the gatehouse.
Yeah.
To verify that somebody I had
Yeah.
put in. Well, just
Yeah.
for permission to allow them.
Well, you shouldn't have to get a call if you've already entered your name.
Yeah, well, I put the information in on dwelling live, and then the next day I got a phone call saying, I have these people here, you have them, you approve them coming in.
But if
And
you,
I think it was around this issue of the printer not sending information then to the computer that gave the security person.
Actually, we're talking two different functions. One is you're entering it into the database. The communication to the printer is the guest pass printer. That's completely different.
Oh, okay.
Randy, if that happened, it shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was surprised by it. It was the only time it had, and I didn't have seemingly any problem entering the information in dwelling live.
Yeah.
So I was
It
surprised.
shows up as a guest on Dwelling Live, or it should show for the date that you got.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that can occur. If your date is off by one day, it red flags it, and I don't know. I just don't know.
Is there only one day?
Yeah, it was a vendor coming in to
Oh, I
order
see.
something, so.
Yeah.
Dwelling Live is a great program.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I like it.
Oh, yeah, worked well. Worked well. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions of Scott? Okay,
Oh,
thank you.
all right.
Doug, you want to give us something on the ponds report?
Okay. Lori, you want to put that up there? Or should I just talk to it?
Yeah, there we are.
The first is just the dashboard. We're in good shape right now, but you would expect that this time of the year. That's all that first thing says. If we go down the list, Ravenna, we were going to put a sound barrier. The contractor, we spent the time. They had some drawings and were ready to give us a fixed price, and they withdrew their bid. So we're back at the beginning, but I've put one of the individuals on our team to coordinate that and help speed that up. But the HOA knows it's been delayed because the contractor withdrew his bid. The drainage project, Matarita, should be completed in the middle. It says the end, but it should be completed in the middle. And we've started talks with the HOA and Prado, let them understand the project's coming to their HOA. The first three purchase orders, Laura released them, issued them to the contractor a couple days ago. So that's where that is. I would just talk about the first thing here underneath the issues that When we go in and put the drainage in, if there's no grass or the grass is dead, we cut it with a sod cutter, we dig the trench, and then you put the sod back. There's no sod when we're done. It's as simple as that. And when we cut it, it becomes mud. None of our contracts include putting new sod down. So if you got sod there before the drainage goes in between the homes, you will have it the same way when it's done. But for where it is now, is if there's no sod there or the grass is, let's just say, dead, it will just be mud when the installation is completed. I had a meeting with the HOA landscaping HOA president, the landscaper, and they all understand and agreed with the status. So just so you know, that was out there. Okay, any questions on any of those 2 points? And then we'll go on to the budget. Laura, I didn't redo this spreadsheet with the data. You sent an updated one with some of the contracts I released. I didn't update this to have version 3 of this, the update document. But I just thought I'd put it here. So if you go on the bottom right, you will see 54% of our budget has been used. But the way we get the data from Laura, it shows the first column there is purchase, not build. If you go down the bottom, that 209 is 26% of our budget. We've really got contracts in place, but they've not billed against that contract. A lot of that's our yearly contracts we have, and that's how it shows up in Laura's financial system. The second column is actually how much we billed. So we've billed 28% of our budget so far this year. The two of them together corresponds to the 54. We are in good shape right now. Is there any question anyone has on this? If anyone, yeah, go on, Phil, did you have a question?
No, I was asking whether anybody had any questions. If not, go ahead, Doug.
Okay, go down, Laura, a little more. The aeration, I do have one aerator. I got a message this morning and one aerator's down. That's already been put over to our contractor, and we've had 95 problems in the last 3 months, and now all of them are now resolved. So we are in good shape right now. That's why it's all green. Laura, these are the two issues I know that I would say CDD-led issues in our community. The two flared ends, sections missing. Laura and Elle have been working with Tetra Tech and Lennar. They're in Moderita ponds as to how that goes forward, but that's one issue. And then the second issue is there's no service right away for one of the weirs on the floorway by Casella. It's similar to a few things we've heard recently in the community. When we go and survey stuff, the lines aren't there or where they should be. There is no service way for that weir on that need. So when they have to go service it, they're actually on Casella's property as opposed to a service area. And Elle's taken the lead on that issue.
Is that the weir that's actually between Casella and Carina on the flowway?
Yeah.
There is a right of way.
There is, but when they built the last building that they put up on the corner, they are right at the end of it. They actually have part of their irrigation is in our right of way, in our easement for the service there. And they changed the slope of the pond. So if Elle wants to be able to drive in there and not either take out their landscaping, she has to be at an angle, and we're actually driving down part of the slope of the pond at this point because it's not right. It was all staked out. I walked out there with Elle and Wyatt from Tetra Tech, and then Scott Connell has been involved in it as well. So we're making sure that they make it right so we can get in there.
Okay, I didn't realize there was
Oh, yeah,
an easement
Al
on it.
actually raised that issue back in May before they even started to build,
So
and
there's,
nobody did anything about it.
there's really two easements, that one on the east side of the flowway to get to that weir, but there's one that comes back behind Karina also.
Yeah, I know I don't know the neighborhoods very well, but I know that where we come in, we had to like go around, and there's supposed to be there was a hard ground pathway, and they put, they put grass on it, so Ella's gonna completely trash.
If you would try to walk it,
It's horrible just walking
you
it. Yeah.
can't, let alone bring a
It's
vehicle
on a,
back there.
it's on a slant,
So
so.
either the
I've been
building,
there.
And I could see the irrigation
Yeah.
heads in the.
either
in
the
the
building was improperly located, or they didn't account for the easement, our easement. We have a maintenance easement. So something's going to change. They're either going to take land out of the pond. I don't think they're going to move the building. But Lennar knows what they have to
Right.
do, and it must be done. But the angle or any kind of vehicle would be
It's
like
bad.
this. It's
Yeah,
terrible.
it's-
So what's the solution, Mom?
Solution is they're going to have to take some of the pond and widen the easement. You can't move the building.
Yeah, I haven't seen the official.
They haven't
official
responded yet, other
Proposal to make it right yet.
than acknowledging.
That's gonna be the easiest thing to do because the building is there.
Yeah, but I thought there was a lot
Okay.
of space between the building and the pond.
There's not,
No, not in that last building. There was no space.
there's no
It's
space.
terrible.
Everything was surveyed out in the corner of their house. The survey post was here. The house was right here. It was touching it.
Okay.
So,
There's an easement on
And
the
the-
other side of the flowway behind Karina.
That's not a problem. We're okay with that.
Okay.
That's totally okay. The flared sections, the 2 8-foot flared sections that are missing, they've been known for a couple of years.
mhm.
When Marsh Rowley did our original inspections, it was highlighted and it just failed through the process of getting done. And when it came time to release the bonds and things, currently it popped back up and they have a requirement to do it. We expect they're going to do it. And it's just not happened yet.
Hey, Laura, do you think they're going to do it or what? Because they were with you, weren't they, Lennar, or not?
I can't say for sure, but I think that we've beaten them up over this enough now that they were getting kind of worn down. And he said, if all we need to do is put 2 8-foot flared end sections onto this, that shouldn't be a big deal, is what he said. But there's absolutely no commitment. I want to make that very clear. But I think that we've gotten them down to just be able to show them, look, this is all we're asking for is just finish the pipe. It's not as long as it says it's supposed to be. Somebody overlooked it. When we got the turnover, it showed that the pipe was 172 feet long, but it's not. And we just took their word for it because we're not going to go measure it. But that's what we're down to is we're asking them to just put on the last 2 8-foot flared.
It's obvious that it needs to be
It's
there.
very obvious. I mean, you walk out, you can tell it's missing.
But the
And
hammer,
without,
the hammer
and
that the-
without that, I was just going to say, without that, the erosion on the bank occurs, is worse.
Absolutely. Could occur. Could even be a trip hazard, but neither, the board is tuned into both of these items and we will not approve Lennar getting out of the community until it's been resolved, whatever that takes.
And
This is something worth going to court over.
We're holding bonds right now.
Doug, anything further?
No. Nope.
Any questions of Doug? Okay, thank you, Doug. Safety and Security Work Group, we've got a lot more cars in the community, a lot more speeding and people going through stop signs. We are going to have the Fort Myers Police Department in here 4 or 5 times in February. And we're going to try and convince them to start giving out tickets in addition to warnings, because tickets seem to be a lot more efficient than just giving out warnings. But that's been a difficult a battle with them. We're looking at a project to look at the lighting in the community, the lights at the various intersections, to see whether there's some improvements needed for that. We have a whole bunch of potential projects. We're looking at places to slow people down and to do things.
The lighting people are supposed to be there this week. I haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether.
Should have been this week.
Mhm.
I'll talk to them
Okay.
after time.
You recall at the last meeting, we agreed that we should be able to hire Florida transportation engineers to help us out with some of these projects and to get some things done with regard to the engineering on these things that we don't get done by Tetra Tech. So We are still trying to figure out how to engage Florida Transportation Engineering to assist on some of those. The famous rumble strips are still there and not on both sides of the road. We're trying to straighten that out with the city. This has been going on for a year or more. We're caught up in the bureaucracy with the city, trying to finish the original project with the rumble strips and then have the approval to get new ones put in there. We recognize that some people don't like the rumble strips, but we did find that they did slow traffic down. We also are going to look at, and I think we all agreed to this last month, looked at something to prevent people from running around on the grass on the other side, on the right-hand side of the street. That we need to put something in to prevent that from happening. Once we get all of that done, we can take those cones, those traffic cones away, which needs to be done. People are upset about those cones.
I have a comment about
Yeah.
the rumble strips. There is a group that is doing a engineering study on the damage done to golf cart suspensions. They do not have suspensions in the front end. They have apparently rubber bushings. And those rumble strips, under any circumstances, they're claiming damage to golf carts. And the golf cart manufacturers have supported that.
Joe has a good point. The rumble strips do nothing for cars. The new cars can go over those rumble strips and you don't even feel it. But they do have a big impact on a golf cart.
Yeah, and I think if these people do what they're saying, they're gonna have a good claim against it. And I mean,
I
if
think
it's
they could.
damaging
I agree
to
with
their
you.
golf carts, now we are causing damage, financial
Do
damage.
they realize they're suing themselves?
But that is an issue with the rumble strips.
That's really not the issue.
So
They would sue themselves because everybody would pay for it, not just them. But if it's damaging golf carts, we have an issue that we need to deal with. There are other ways, and if I was them, I would certainly prove that. You can have the slopes that are more mild and gentle, they're raised, that would cost us more money probably because you got to macadamize them, but they're slopes that are warning slopes. They aren't that abrupt 1 inch high bang, bang, bang thing. So I think we need to be very
okay,
considerate of them.
what you're saying is we need to have the safety and security work group relook at the.
We definitely do, because
Okay.
there is a group of folks that are seriously interested in that, because they're driving around them. I think if we put shrubs there, they drive around the shrubs to get around them.
It does, the strips do nothing to cars, but they do affect the golf carts big time.
I think the strips have slowed cars down. I think we've proven that there's been a real substantial drop in the speeding.
Yep.
But if they're damaging, and we have so many golf carts, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that road was built as narrow and small as it was for the traffic that it gets.
These rumble strips have given us nothing but aggravation.
Yes.
So I think security and safety, just remove the things.
What
Just
would be,
remove
what would
and
be,
get around this to stop this.
Okay.
But Glenn, didn't we just hear last meeting, the fact that it almost cut the speeding in half? They have the data to show that. The security group guy presented that the last meeting.
Doug, they did. And the fellows from the security company were telling us that rumble strips are not the right way to handle stuff also. But they have cut the traffic in half. We accomplished what we wanted, but we may have created more than one issue. One is we're aggravating people. They're driving all over the place. And I was behind a golf cart the other day and they got up there and they went into the left lane to pass the golf carts if anything was coming at them, and then they pulled back to go the other way. So they didn't go on the grass this time, but they just drove. It's like an obstacle course for these people. And we are aggravating people, but if it starts causing damage to golf carts, we can have a problem. And somebody might say, you're liable for it.
what would prevent the community from putting stop signs there? It seems like everything that's been done to try to,
I think that the rules for what kind of, what you can, where you can put stop signs won't let us do that. But Scott, maybe you can comment on that.
Yeah, the city, because of the traffic flow, the city wasn't going to permit those. I mean, we can go back to them and see, but they wouldn't even engineer it.
We don't meet the criteria to
We
have a
don't
stop
need to-
sign there. And
yeah, well, take a look at every other, nearly every other road that goes on to Pelican Preserve or Cypress or whatever. Most of them are four-way stops. Or at
Randy,
least a stop sign getting onto a major one.
I think it really
So-
goes back to what the contractor put in. If the developer had put it in there, we wouldn't have a problem. But the developer didn't put it in, and to add it is probably not going to float with the city, but there's a lot of obstacles and a lot of money to have to do that, from what I recall. When we looked at doing that, that was an option that was thrown out. And the rumble strips appeared to be the best option at the time. That's why we voted for them. Some of us very reluctantly, but we voted for them. But now I'm concerned we've created a much, much bigger problem, and we may have another problem going forward if it's damaging golf carts. And if they come up with substantial documentation for that, we're going to have to deal with it.
Randy, what I would ask is that you take back to the safety and security work group a relook at the rumble strips.
Yeah.
As to, you know.
Yeah, it seems like it's a very polarizing issue.
Yes, it is,
And
to say the least.
so far, we have not been able to modify behavior, it seems, with this driving up on the grass and killing the grass on the sides. And
Okay. Well, can I
so,
ask you as representative to take that back to the group,
I will.
and they need to relook at that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, CC, come up to the podium, please.
Cece Haas from Casella too. I just want to comment that I lived in Vicenza for about 2 months when I first got here. And I know people who still live there. And it is my understanding that a lot of this began because the Vicenza people felt that they couldn't get out
That's
of,
correct.
they couldn't get onto Veneto to specially make the left to get out to Pelican Preserve. I lived there. You nose yourself out, you look around the hedges, and you figure it out. I would say perhaps just remove those hedges that are on the left. I think this whole thing could have been resolved, perhaps. It's just a suggestion.
I made that same trip yesterday. I hadn't
Okay.
gone down there for a long time, but
Yeah.
I went there specifically to see that. And I thought that between, as you mentioned, between the mirror that is up
Which is
and being just kind of carefully moving out,
Yeah.
that it shouldn't be any problem
where
for
they learn to
for
drive.
those residents to go through there.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, well, let's ask the safety and security work group to
okay.
relook at it.
Thank you.
And this is something the landscape committee will work with the safety security, because we understand from other people, there are vision problems with people driving around at the intersections, and some of the shrubbery is contributing to that.
Okay. Anything more for safety and security work group? If not, Joe, landscape work group?
Okay, I've been playing with the budget and looking at what we're dealing with, and we're in really great shape right now. It looks like we've spent about 17% of our total budget, and we're 1/4 through the year now. So we've spent about $122,760. Our budget for the year is $695,900. One of the things I was looking at from my business life was there's no overhead in this, but we're paying a management fee. So if we looked at what we're paying management fee, those numbers would go up substantially if we had an overhead margin we had to play with. And that's just my fantasy, I guess. But anyhow, that's the actual cost that we're dealing with. And I think we're doing a good job so far. The contract, the request for quote that we're dealing with, there were 3 sections in that original request for quote. There was a section that's the shared section, which is tree line with the commercial properties. There is the GSCDD properties that basically parallel all the major roads. And then there was the property that the community association handled. And we looked at having 3 separate bids rather than having one bid. And our attorney pointed out that it was illegal for us to get a request bids for the community association properties, which we have done historically. And his comment was, well, it's time to correct the error. So we had to take the community properties out of that bid package completely. So now we're getting a quote for 2 properties, common and CDD properties, which will require the community association to continue with what they have, because we have a price for their thing and they can continue with that. But the bid openings, because of that, the date was changed and it's going to be this Monday. All the contractors, there were 7 or so that had indicated they were going to bid. So on Monday, we'll have a public hearing and open up the bids and announce how much each bid is in total. The quotes will then be distributed to the landscape work group for us to review. The CDD, L and her group, whoever that might be, will review them. We'll put some review reports together. We'll come to PPAC, present what we found. If we feel there might be one that might be more warranted to another, we'll make that recommendation, but it will be PPAC decides who gets the contract. And then when it gets put into place, we'll have to give that to the CDD for approval. So that's the process we're dealing with. So within the next month or so, we should know what we're doing with our landscaping. And we need to understand that that's just simply for the maintenance, what we have, what we've inherited from the developer. It's not for anything going forward. We have one project that we're working on.
Joe, can I just?
Yeah, oh, sure, certainly.
Just make a comment or ask a question about that. It seems to me they're also bidding on the PPCA landscaping maintenance. And there's a bid due on the 18th of February. I'm not aware that they're doing anything for the PPCA, and I may not have that information, Phil. I don't know. Well,
Yes, there
they
is
are
a
doing something.
RFP out to all of those vendors for the
For
PPCA,
PPCA,
and it is due on
the
the
18th of February.
Oh, okay.
And now, and it seems to me that there probably is a need for the landscape work group and L, the CDD, to coordinate with the PPCA. Because even if we just chose the 2 cheapest, in other words, if CDD or the CDD contract and the PPCA contracts are with different companies, that could create a lot of problems. So I think that there's a need for you to coordinate your efforts with the PPCA people to see whether it makes sense to make sure that those, whatever the contracts we're going to award, work together. Because if there's a problem with having 2 different contracts, I think we need to be aware of it.
The PPCA has a contract with the golf course for the town center, and they've been doing that forever.
Right.
The property we're talking about that they really have the biggest impact on is the property from the gatehouse down Tree Line Road to the end of the community. There's a couple of properties within Matarita that are controlled by the community association, and I believe the fence line around the perimeter of the building or the property is controlled by them. So I don't see that there's a whole lot of impact on the major part of the CDD properties. But we should, and I totally agree, as I said earlier, we got a marriage with each other.
Yes, exactly.
And we do need to work with them. We do need to keep them appraised of what we're doing. The 18th, Scott, I'm not aware of that, and I have not heard anything about what the community association's been doing, because I've only been working with the CDD. Our bid's coming in this Monday.
Right.
So that's a week later.
Actually, it's 5 days.
Well, 5 days.
But, well, the reason that was done was because of the change to the bidding documents to give the vendors some time to go back and rebid the association
Okay.
separately.
But is the CDD involved with that, or are you
No.
involved with that?
No, I'm involved.
Scott's
Okay, so
involved.
the CDD is not involved with it. So that's why I wasn't aware of that
Yeah.
then.
Right,
Correct.
but I think the
That was
fact,
the piece we had to separate out.
Right, I know they separated out. I just wasn't aware of
but
this.
I think there is a need to look at the greater good to make sure that however we contract this thing, that it works well for the total community. Remember, the money is coming out of our pockets either way. It's either coming out as part of our non-ad valorem or part of our assessments. So I think there's a need to be sure that those two are coordinated in some way so that we get the best deal for both parties.
I think
When
we'll
say
have to,
deal,
we're gonna move ahead with our reviews once the bids come in on the 13th. And we'll have to, on the 8th, when the bids come in for the CA, who's going to get them? You, Scott?
Yes.
So we should maybe get together and if you want to share them with me, and I can share them with my group so we can see how they work in with the bids that we've got from the other contract. Is that even legal? Can we look at those, Laura?
That's a good question. I would assume they would be.
Yeah, I would,
If they're
I know when we
public, if
sent
they're,
ours, sorry, I don't have my mic on.
yeah,
I know when we sent ours out, we did, as part of our addendum, we asked the vendors to consider extending the same pricing to the PPCA for continuity purposes. So, I mean, the intent is to have one vendor for everything. We
yeah,
just broke it out into basically two separate bids.
Right. right.
so I
So,
think there needs to be some coordination done to ensure that we, as I say.
Oh, yeah,
we're
definitely.
doing best by both
well,
organizations.
we should, I
Correct.
agree with that. So we'll go ahead with our review. Once we get those bids, I'm planning to get our group together because a lot of work is going to go into that. So when you get yours, Scott, then if you could let me know, we'll tack that on and is happy to do that.
Scott, who has a greater dollar value?
Oh,
Community association or?
No, it's actually the CDD.
So the CDD is the dog, the CA is the tail. That's
Well-
what wagging you.
Well, and again, there's one little thing that's there. And that has to do with the water use permit, the scheduling, and the expertise of running the twirl management system.
I
So
understand all that.
that's why, it's better if we have one vendor.
Totally agree, but I'm just saying from a dollar value. point of view.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. See what the number goes.
And the request for quote includes irrigation. It's landscaping and irrigation. So whoever gets the contract will be handling the irrigation. And if there's an advantage to the community association to pick somebody other than what we recommend for our community, then we're just going to have to see how we can get these two different companies perhaps to work together and coordinate.
Let's see what the numbers tell us.
That's, we'll play with the numbers.
Yep.
Okay. I'm glad I'm aware of that. The work group is doing a project for Casella right now. Ameriscape came in and gave us a bid to redo the landscaping around the Casella Monument that's really beat up. I went over there and I must state that I wasn't very happy. I was walking around and I found sticks in the ground that had nails sticking out of them that were just left there. I found a signpost that had just been bent down that was a metal signpost. So I can't say I was happy with even the state of a place that was damaged. There was just not much care taken. And the landscape work group looked at that and said, we would like to make this a showcase if we can. So we got the budget from Ameriscape. We're going to try to reinvent that wheel somewhat, come up with a nicer landscape, maybe a different plant selection, and a plant layout so that other people can see that and still do that within the budget that we got from Ameriscape. And Ameriscape will get that
Well, you say the
opportunity.
budget you got from
We
Ameriscape.
got an estimate from them. I shouldn't say budget. I'm
Estimate.
sorry, an estimate.
And who will be paying for that work?
It's a Casella and it's a Casella monument, so we're responsible for it. That's our responsibility. So we will be paying for it.
You have budget?
We have the budget. Yes, we have the budget. We got an estimate from Ameriscape to do the job. We're just going to try to make it something that's nicer than just putting,
No, I'm with you there. I'm just asking if you had funds available.
we have funds available and we have, and I gave that group, I said, this is the estimate we got. Keep it within that estimate. We'll go back to Ameriscape and let them requote it and see what we come up with. We had our first official meeting earlier this month with our volunteers. We had about 22 volunteers and maybe 25 or plus people show up for the meeting. Bob came and talked to them a little bit about CDD and PPAC. Scott was there and talked about the maintenance programs that we've been doing. And I had pointed out that historically Scott has been active with this for a long, long time, and he has the expertise and has kind of guided us through this thing. I say that I think the folks were very enthusiastic about putting this together and anxious to get moving on it. So I'm targeted to keep that interest up, peak it, and keep it moving. But we're going to break down into smaller groups. It's going to be more boots on the ground. We'll just be looking around at like what I found at Casella. If we find garbage or track or debris or stuff not taken care of, we'll report that, and they'll report through a processing system we're going to develop, and then we will bring that to Scott's attention to work with Ameriscape, because that's how our maintenance contract works, and that's how the O&M agreement puts us into it. And the last thing I want to say is I actually signed up for a Florida landscape class, and when it's all finished, I will be certifiable. However you want to interpret that.
We do know that you have mental issues, but that's beside the point.
So where is this class going to be, Joe?
It's down at Bonita, and there's what I always call a tourist trap down there that has flower gardens and animals, and I quite frankly, I forget the name of it, but it's on Old 41, and it's a certified class. It's 4 weekends, 4 Fridays, 4 5-hour lessons. So I'm hoping that some of it will rub off, and
Well, I
at least I'll
recently
know what a
learned
40
that Florida
program
Gulf
is.
Coast University
Mhm.
will allow seniors to audit undergraduate classes at no charge. So you might check into their
I'm like
classes as
Glenn,
well.
if you cover my hotel expenses and room and board, I'll be happy.
Florida Gulf Coast, I can see it from here.
Anyhow, I'm very excited about it. It was highly recommended to take that. And I signed up, and I found out the class filled up very quickly because I recommended it to some other folks, and they said it was already filled up.
Joe, I have a question regarding the monuments. The monument budget, is the community paying for the extra landscaping, or is that just, are you
We're
asking?
not going to be doing extra landscaping. We're going to try to make a landscape there that's more than what the general landscaping contractors might propose.
Well, I mean, we do that in our community, but we pay for it ourselves.
I'm not going to spend more money than what Ameriscape
Okay.
quoted to put
All right.
in the regular stuff.
They're not, you, in certain cases, you were doing some stuff that's special.
Well,
If a community wants to put in above and beyond, they're
If
allowed to
community
do
wants
that
get
at
above
their
and beyond,
expense.
They can do it.
I think down the pike, I don't want to belabor this any longer. I think we should, as a PPAC group, come up with a figure that's what a monument's worth. That's what, if a community comes to us and asks us to do something, this is what we'll put in, and anything above and beyond that, they do. And I think we've followed that, not maybe from an organizational standpoint, but we've been pretty, we've helped communities if they want to do above and beyond, but we aren't paying for extra trees and extra shrubbery and beautification.
What, can I just comment? about
Yes.
Verona, where I live, has been there since '03. It's 20 years old. Landscaping gets tired, just like we do. So we've hired Ameriscape, and they're billing us two bills about 20 and 20, about 40 grand. And they're in there doing the work now. And if you want to see, I must say, I've been impressed with what they've done.
Yeah, I'm very much aware of that.
Yes, and they've gone in like, removed old shrubbery, put in sod, new plants, because it does get old. And WCI over landscaped us when we started.
The
And then,
developer over landscape.
All developers over.
WCI
Yes.
didn't do it, the developers. Sunnygrove
All
did.
developers.
And now-
They want to sell houses.
and now we've got good people in our committees in Verona that are saying, hey, let's clean it up. And it's worthwhile. It looks a lot better. And it's easier to maintain too. So it's
Glenn,
worthwhile,
Glenn, I
but it's
thank
not
you.
cheap.
Yeah, I thank you for that because Scott and I have talked quite a bit. We have a maintenance contract. All we're doing is taking care of what we got. We have no contract, we have no budget, we haven't put a plan together for doing what your community is doing.
Mhm.
Pelican Preserve is going to have to do that. They're going to
Yeah.
have to face the fact that trees need to be trimmed, removed, landscaping is going to have to be replaced, and it's going to be at a cost. And it's not maintenance, it's much more than that.
Well, not to bang on this too long, but I noticed, like John, you mentioned last meeting, before you get to Cypress Grove, that medium, there's dead shrubbery in there. And I asked the landscape guy, I thought maybe it was the exhaust from the cars or something, but he said, no, that's just a rough area to be able to provide irrigation, et cetera. So
It's a hard trim. We have areas, Prado Drive is a prime example from the Cypress Grove Circle to the Prado Circle. That ground in that island is horrible. And they planted stuff that was not good for that. The work group, actually, we've toured that. We've got a plan together. We have budgeted money to redo that. The goal for our group, believe it or not, was they said, you can dig all the dirt out and replace it, but we can actually find plants that'll thrive in what was there.
Good,
And it's
good.
considered junk dirt. But they can find plants that thrive there. We replant it. We save money by not bringing in the dirt. We're going to put plants in that are basically Florida friendly, less maintenance, less water. It's a plus, plus, plus every way you think about it. And long-term, it's going to save us money.
yes,
And that's what our whole goal is. And I agree, we don't want to belabor this. This is not a landscape committee, but
Right. Okay.
anyhow,
thank you.
that's what we're doing.
That's where they're headed. Okay. Any other questions of Joe? Okay, landscape work group. We have a CDD meeting schedule. Doug has the 17th. Doug, are you still there for the 17th?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so we need people on the 3rd of March and the 17th of March. Anybody can do that?
Is it for the both dates, Phil?
No, for one of the,
Let me just quickly.
either of the two.
So 3-3? Is that-
3-3.
I can do that.
Yeah, okay, Carol and 3-3.
You can do it online, Carol.
Okay,
You come here, that's good.
sure.
And somebody do the 17th.
17th, I'll
Randy?
take the 17th.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any committee member requests? Audience
And then-
comment?
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
sure, Carol,
Mr. Chair. So you attend the meeting and then what? Make a little
brief-
summary?
A brief report. I think you should have received the report that Joe did
I think I did.
on this one. And it was-
Got a lot of papers. I think it was in there.
But I think it was a very good report. It wasn't very long, but it hit the high points.
It
It's
wasn't
really
long.
the stuff that impacts P-PAC.
Yes.
There's a lot of
Okay.
stuff going on in those meetings that, and if you've got the.
If it doesn't affect P-PAC, I don't have to say anything.
Right,
about it.
right. And if you have the endurance to sit through it, and you've sat.
I have sat through it.
You've sat through a lot of-
fortunate, mine, nothing.
By the way, that, I'd like to add one report. That meeting was not adjourned,
Oh, yes,
the one I
right.
went to. It was continued, and I went to the continuation. They're talking about how they're going to go forward to get a district manager.
Yeah.
And I learned something very interesting. The company that they've hired to do it, the fellow that's been acting as district manager, won't be moving forward with that. They have to have somebody in that position by law. They have to have a district manager. So, well, where'd she go? Laura, who was renting it. I was gonna say, and that beautiful girl next to me, Laura. Hi, Georgia. Laura is going to be promoted, as I recall. Bob, you might confirm this, but she's going to be moved up to the interim district manager because they have to have somebody filling that position. Then the meeting was adjourned.
Oh,
Georgia, what time do those meetings start?
3:00.
3 o'clock.
And they run to,
sometimes,
7.
sometimes they're painful, although there was one a month or so ago that only went to 4:27.
Right, yeah, Tinkle was,
Yeah, right.
Tinkle had COVID. The meeting was
Right,
very-
right, okay. All right. Are there any audience comments? Yeah, Georgia? Oh, I got that on my list. We're gonna get to that. Yeah, I was asking for, but thank you. Thank you, Georgia.
I don't know if you can hear me with the mask. Kathleen Anderson, Avila Circle president there. And I just would like to say thank you to all of you, Bob, you included, Scott, for the due diligence and all the work put into moving ahead with the Avila Street project. I recognize the cost. I recognize what it took to get done. I have followed the wishes and the guidelines of having the committees relay to CASO that the announcement would come out, but evidently the rumor mill hid because I walked into someone's entryway yesterday and 10 women wanted to know the date of the road being completed. So I would like to thank you all if you don't hear it from me again. And nothing seemed to have made those residents in there happier, not even the roof project. I thought the roof project was major. So thank you. And it has not gone unnoticed by the people in there. Of course, I've given them Scott's private number when the work starts because they'll forget that I keep telling them I have nothing in it. But thank you. And one thing I wanted to ask for direction on, Avila Circle, the community, are there easements there? And where do I go, like in relationship to anyone? Because like where I live, facing that golf hole, and I don't know what hole it is because I'm not a golfer, but all the grass has turned dead. And that grass was fine. I have pictures when the pond was done. They put the old grass back in, but I don't know. I've had a Meriscape out there, and I will tell you what I found out because I'm a night owl. Our rotors and irrigation in the backs on that side do not go on till 1:15 to 2:15 in the morning. They run about 30, 35 minutes. But starting last spring, everything was green back there, and now it's all dead. And I've had Javier out there. Well, when they come out to check the sprinkler heads, yeah, the sprinkler heads come on and they adjust them. But if somebody's not up at 1 in the morning to tell them that it's not running and it hasn't ran in months, and they come out and check again, there was something wrong there, I believe, with the Toro system. And I'm telling you this moving forward, in case you encounter that. I'm not technical. I don't know anything about the Toro, but I believe there was a glitch there. So just something to be looked at. And I don't know who I get to know where the easements are in Avila. For example, the bushes lining Cypress Grove, the sidewalk. We just did almost a $10,000 drain project there with Scott Copeland because of the mess it had been left since builders did it to do drains, everything. But there's all these bushes, trees, and the leaves and the trash and everything are coming down on the new sod. So Copeland said you're going to have to get that work done or else take lime and put it on the leaves because the lime kills the grass. Funny what you learn, isn't it? But I just wanted to know, because I want to know our responsibility you know, if it's a monetary, whatever, upkeep, because we're going ahead pursuing contracts for landscaping bids. If it's our responsibility and where that ends and begins, or where do I get that info?
You can come to the office.
Yeah.
And it's not easement, it has to do with property line ownership.
Okay, I didn't know if it was
So I
easement or
can-
property. Okay, and just, you know, it doesn't have to be solid, but,
That's the kind of thing that ought to go to Scott. rather than-
okay, okay, I didn't know.
Who's your landscaper?
Ameriscape,
Ameriscape?
okay,
Then they know how to handle the pedestal in the field. Because if it fails, it's in the field.
okay.
So-
I'll set up a time to talk to you, Scott. Thank you, and thank you all again.
They're assuming are there any other audience comments? With Teresa's leaving the committee, she was the one who reviewed the the draft of our minutes before we get them. And she did a very good job of it. And actually, I think they're doing a better job of taking the minutes to begin with now. But nonetheless, we need somebody who would take over that function of reviewing the minutes, making any corrections before they are sent to the members of the committee for everybody's review. Do I have anybody who would volunteer to do that work? The enthusiasm is amazing.
I can do that.
I'm looking for our newest member.
Carol,
We have a winner.
Do
I
that.
think so. As the most,
As he said of eyes.
No pressure.
Okay, this is what Teresa used to do.
as the most junior member, we'll ask you to do that.
Okay,
If you will talk to Georgia, she can tell you just how the process works. She could,
thanks, Georgia.
okay. There being nothing further, the next meeting date is March the 10th. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
This moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned at 4:22.